In today's show, it's a mailbag episode answering your questions about Scoot Henderson comps, a fully healthy Trailblazers rotation, and Duop Reath. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. Coming at you Monday through Friday, each and every weekday, so start your days with it. Make it part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same as Locked On Blazers, your team every day. Today's episode, a special delivery mailbag edition of the podcast, where listeners sent in questions and I'm going to answer them on the show. If you want to be involved in a future mailbag, the way to do it is to email me, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. I'll give you a little hint. Tuesday nights are typically when I'm going to aim to record these, schedule permitting with the Blazers and news and all of those things. But Tuesday evenings, so if you send me a mailbag question, say Monday or Tuesday afternoon when you're thinking of it, I will do my best to incorporate it in the show. But you could always send me a question. Just let me know it's for a mailbag. And the email address, one more time for you, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com is the best place to get in contact with me. So if you want to do that, that's where to do it. Let's get into it. We got questions. I got answers. We're going to talk Scoot. We're going to talk healthy rotation. We're going to talk Duop Reath. First one comes from Jonathan E., who asks, is Rajon Rondo a reasonable comp for Scoot Henderson? Jonathan continues, a great facilitator, does a bit of everything, not someone who looks to score or punish anybody with his jumper, can be a tough defender, and realistically probably tops out as a legitimate number 3 or 4 on a contender if surrounded by the right wings. That sounds like an outcome for Scoot that I could appreciate. It's heavily edited emails, several paragraphs edited into one short one. That's a pretty good comp. I don't think that Rondo and Scoot are particularly similar in their styles, because Scoot's downhill style is very different from Rondo's. But in terms of the facilitator role and perhaps like the shaky jumper thing, I can see, and good defensive player, I could see where that comp comes in. You know, it's maybe more stylistic in terms of like role, like where they fit, as opposed to sort of how they truly play. And I want to say this. Rajon Rondo would be a very, very positive outcome for Scoot Henderson. Rajon Rondo's career would be a very positive outcome for any number 3 overall pick. 4-time All-Star, 4-time All-Defense, 3rd-team All-NBA in the 2011-2012 season. He was 8th. He finished 8th in the MVP race that year. He got MVP votes in 2012. It's really freaking good. He's led the league in assists on 3 separate occasions, was a member of the 2008 champs, and was a surprisingly integral member of the bubble champion Lakers some 12 years later in 2020. He had a great career. Rondo rocked. He was a real tone setter for the Celtics, and he was the 4th best player on a championship team in 2008. A team that went back to the finals a couple years later in 2010. Like, let me just get this burnout here real quick. The 21st century Celtics are the greatest dynasty that only won one championship of all time. But they, Rondo rocked. Like, he rocked. He was really, really good. I'll always remember the playoff game where he basically played with one arm and was dominant still against LeBron. Like, he was a fun player, tough as hell, and he did what he did. He was a great passer and a tough defender, and as Jonathan said, a great facilitator, could do a bit of everything, but the jumper wasn't there. In fact, they would call it Rondoing, which is when you just straight up don't guard someone until they get within inside about 9 feet, because you say, shoot it, dog. And Rondo wouldn't often from 17 feet. He wouldn't shoot it. Later in his career, and specifically in the bubble at Disney, he aced open three-pointers when they refused to guard him. He very strange end to his career. But Is it like a comp you could be happy with? Because Jonathan E says it's like a comp that it's like I would feel good about this. You should feel good if Scoot Henderson is a 4-time All-Star, makes an All-NBA team, is a 4-time All-Defender, All-Defense member, is leads league in assists 3 times, and is the 4th best player on a title team. They win the title. It doesn't matter what Scoot is. If he's on the team and he starts, he can feel pretty good about it. There's a positive outcome for Scoot, a really good one. But it would put the Blazers in an interesting situation. I think I've talked a bunch on the show about team building and sort of my philosophies behind it. And not even my philosophies, just like in general, how to build a good team is kind of the sort of fascinating part where the Blazers are at, right? Because they don't have that now and they're trying to build in that direction. You don't need Rondos. They don't need Rondos. I mean, eventually when they get really good, everyone could use a Rondo. What they need are stars. Building block stars, an A1 star. And if Scoot is a Rondo, it puts pressure on the other folks, right? Let's say Scoot ends up being just like, for instance, Basketball Reference has Rondo as a 60% chance to make the Hall of Fame. Better than a coin flip. He probably wouldn't be in my Hall of Fame, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in the NBA Hall of Fame. He was solid as heck and played for a long time. If Scoot's Rondo, he tops out as the 4th best player on a title team, the 3rd best player on a really good team, right? Because he was that later in his career. The 3rd best player on one of the really good Celtics teams. Then Anfernee Simons has to be a tier 1 star if the Blazers, in this iteration of the Blazers, are going to be a rebuild. Or moreover, Shaedon Sharpe has to be a tier 1 star. I'm not sure I see Ant developing into that. Anfernee Simons is really freaking good. Really freaking good. But the difference, the distance between really good and great in the league is vast. It is a wide cavern, and I'm not sure that Anfernee Simons gets to that level. I'm not sure he gets to the jump where he's like one of the 10 best players in the league. The market inefficiency on winning a title is having an MVP candidate. So that's what you need. So it's like, I don't think it's like a slight to Ant to say I don't see him being one of the 5 best players in the NBA during his career. He's really good. Being one of the 5 best players in the NBA is a bar that Damian Lillard, arguably the best Blazer of all time, never crossed, right? Never got there. He was not one of the 5 best players in the league at any point in his career, I don't think. It's tough. So if it's not Ant, it's Sharpe, right? And Shaedon Sharpe has been magnificent over the last 5-6 games. He's been great. And he's really starting to put it together, and he just looks really good. He looks really good. And he's still, it's like Shaedon Sharpe scores 25 points per game, and you feel like he could do more. That's how good he's been. Like, he's been excellent, and he's filling up the box score. He's rebounding well. He's racking up assists as he continues to grow as a playmaker. Like, if Scoot is Rondo, Shaedon Sharpe, you get into this point where Shaedon Sharpe has to be your tier 1 MVP level star. So while I think it would be a really good outcome for Scoot, for the Blazers rebuild, they have to hope it's more. Does he look like it through the first 13 games of his career? No, but it's 13 games in for a teenager. So I think this comp is interesting, and it brings up sort of the larger picture. There are about 1,000 positive outcomes for players that don't have them end up being stars, top 10 stars in the league. What the Blazers need is they need their Tyrese Halliburton, they need their Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they need that young player who's like, oh, this dude could very well be the MVP of the league before he hits 26, and then he might take off after, like, even wilder after that. Shaedon Sharpe, 20 years old. I try not to overreact to small sample sizes. When he struggled for 2 weeks, I wasn't killing him. I was saying the Blazers need to ask him to do less. And when he's been really good for this 2-week stretch, it is what it is. He's been freaking great for this 2-week stretch, and you want him to continue to build. But if Scoot is Rondo, boy, does it put pressure on everyone else to be Paul Pierce and KG. Okay, next question is about the fully healthy roster. When everybody's back, what does it look like? That's what we'll talk about in the second segment. But first, I want to tell you about building a championship roster with the help from my man, Joshy. Our partners at eBay Motors. teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best picks, the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're preparing for your daily draft or you're scouring the waiver wire like I am, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked out for us for this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. He's got a couple on here, but the one I want to highlight is Dante Exum. Blazers saw it up close and personal last Friday when Dante Exum had 23, 6, and 7 on 9 of 15 shooting. I said on the podcast, if you listen to Monday's show, that I think it was the best game I've ever seen Dante Exum play. He's just been great. If there was a comeback player of the year award, the NBA got rid of that and made it the most improved player. But if there was a comeback player, it'd be Dante Exum, who was a top 5 pick who didn't pan out, was out of the league in Europe, refound his game as a very good player in another high, and maybe the second best league in the world, and come back and I can ball. And with the Mavericks, with a bunch of injuries, he's balling. And that's why my man Josh Lloyd, thinks that with the Mavs, as serious and their injury problems are, they're going to have to play Dante Exum a bunch, and he's earning big minutes now, and the type of thing that's going to stick around when everybody's healthy, because he's just been that good. Exum looks like a solid ad, is what Josh Lloyd says. So why not take the leap if he's available in your league? Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy league. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. It's the same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts for your ride or die, you can make sure that your ride stays running smoothly. Whether you need brake kits or LED headlights or a roof rack or bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, baby, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, let's keep it rolling on the special delivery mailbag. If you want to get involved in the mailbag, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com is the place to do so. Just like this next listener did. Amelia sends the comment followed by a question. Again, heavily edited. It's a little bit longer of an email, but I edited it down to a sentence and a half. I think, if healthy, this team could be actually good considering how they've played with so many injuries. But that said, what does the rotation look like when everyone, except for Robert Williams, is healthy? I think the first part of it is pretty simple. Anthony Simons is your starting point guard. He's earned it. He's clearly the best point guard on the roster. Shaedon Sharp's your starting 2 guard. It would be an actual crime to move him out of the starting lineup. I don't think they'll even consider it. Ant and Shea, your starting backcourt. Tumani starts at the 3. Jeremy Grant starts at the 4, and DeAndre Ayton would be your starting center. I think that's pretty easy. That seems like an easy guess. And I think the next 3 are easy guesses too. Malcolm Brogdon's going to play. Scoot Henderson's going to play. Matisse Thybulle's going to play. That's 8. The thing is, Chauncey Billups has never been a 10-player rotation person. During his 3 years as a head coach, he has very rarely played 10. Usually what I would call 9+, where you play 10 in the first half, but you only play 9 in the second half. And often 9, and in the last game, he played 8. Like, he is a short rotation type of coach. I like that. I hate coaches that play 11. 11 is just wild. It's just like, what if this works? It's not the mark of someone who's got a great plan. It's the mark of grasping at straws. 9 is probably the right number to play for a good team. You can get away with 10 in the league. Like, 10 is not a problem. You do get into some times, if you play 10, some all bench lineups. And I guess with the Blazers, it's okay because Malcolm Brogdon is like starter quality. So an all bench lineup that featured Malcolm Brogdon actually wouldn't be as bad. But there are some rotations there where you're just like, okay, this grouping could use a little bit of help. So I think 9 is the right number. And if it's 9, the question is, who's the 9th guy? Is it Duop Reath or is it Jabari Walker? I think most nights it'd be Duop, because Duop is bigger, just width and length. Like, he's got long arms, he's taller, and he's just thicker. Like, he's center sized, where Jabari Walker is like modern power forward size. There aren't many girthy power forwards left in the NBA, so he's just power forward sized. But he's like, when Jabari plays the 5, the thing that he does well, chase offensive rebounds and become a good defensive rebounder, gets warped because he's playing against guys that are way bigger than him. It's just like, oh yeah, I guess the fact that person's 5 inches taller than you is a problem on the glass a little bit. So I think though mostly the 9th guy would be Duop Reath, which means Jabari Walker just wouldn't play often. That kind of stinks. It wouldn't be like this huge deal if Jabari Walker didn't play every single night, but he's been good enough to earn and deserve minutes. So it would be like a notable development. And I think this is like kind of gets to where my brain is with this. The minutes allocation when they do have a full complement, sans Rob Williams, will be very curious to kind of what they're after. Malcolm Brogdon is several standard deviations better than Scoot Henderson at playing NBA basketball. He's a very positive contributor. And Scoot has mostly been a very negative one. But I think, and I will whine about it right here on this very podcast. I'll straight up, you'll hear me whine if you listen. If Malcolm Brogdon plays more than Scoot when they're fully healthy. Because this isn't about winning. Winning would be nice, but what they want to do is figure out what they got. And limiting Scoot to like 18 minutes or 20 minutes off the bench, it's just like, what's the point of this season? And quite frankly, it's if there is a world in which, Jabari Walker's getting squeezed for Duop Reath, I think that's fine, but it's not ideal for the future because Duop Reath is like a 27-year-old backup center who I love, and I'm going to talk about him a bunch in the close of the show, but like, is Jabari Walker someone who is part of the plan? Well, let's get him out there and see if he can be part of the plan. Let him shoot the ball and miss some shots, right? Like, and have him play and figure it out. He's a competitive defender. He's an improving playmaker with his decisions. He has like a sort of a semi slow motion drive to the rim that's been really effective this year. Let my man go, and I want him to play. But typically Chauncey Billups has played Jeremy Grant a ton of minutes, 37 plus. I don't think magically you're going to, there's this idea that you can just have this sort of egalitarian thing where it's like, well, you see, it's very simple, friends. Shaedon Sharpe plays exactly 33 minutes and Anfernee Simons plays exactly 33 minutes and Scoot Henderson plays exactly 33 minutes. And there I've solved it. But that's just not how it works. Anfernee Simons is going to play more than that. And Jeremy Grant's not going to get cut down to be a 30-minute-a-night guy. He's just not. He's not. He's going to play 35 at least at the minimum. And that means that the back end of the rotation gets pinched a little bit. And it means that Jabari Walker will play less and Toumani Camara will play less. It's just a fact. That is the direction they will have. That will just be a thing that has to happen when they're fully healthy because that is the way the coach plays it. And it's sort of the pecking order of veterans. Here's a good one for you, though. John Schumann of NBA.com and his power rankings, which he puts so much work into. Shu does such a freaking good job. I think power rankings are pretty boring for the most part, but I always read Schumann's every week because he just packs them full of stuff. In the Blazers section, he had this note. Anfernee Simons, Malcolm Brogdon, Jeremy Grant, and DeAndre Ayton have played 3.1 total minutes together through the team's first 21 games. Well, they played their 22nd since published time. 3.1 minutes through those games. That's not many. And I don't think that they're going to play that grouping is going to play a ton of minutes together when everybody's healthy, but they're going to play, and they're going to play 3-guard lineups where Scoot or where Brogdon and Ant and one of the other guards are out there together. They're just going to have to. And the guard lineups are going to mean that there's less forward minutes for two, and there's less forward minutes for Tease and less forward minutes for JG. Who plays? I'm pretty confident in who plays. How much they play will be fascinating. I don't know when everyone's going to be healthy though. Conceivably, DA and Malcolm Brogdon are day-to-day, and they could play on Thursday against the Jazz. Jeremy Grant is a total unknown because of head trauma. Is just an unknowable thing for us, and they're not going to release little checkpoints. So maybe Billups will give us an update on Thursday before the game or at practice tomorrow. But like, we don't know. So when will it be more than 3.1? And when everyone's out there, how many minutes do we get with all of the young veterans on the court? And if you do get minutes with all the young veterans on the court, which young player gets squeezed? It'll be interesting. It'll be definitely something. Who plays and when is one of the things I find most interesting about NBA basketball. So, and about the coach's decision making is like who's on the court and when they're on the court. So obviously, I will track it here. I promise ya. If you want to go see this team in person, you want to go see who plays and when. Well, don't worry about rushing out to get tickets. Don't worry about the hassle because we got the Gametime app. They make it easy for last-minute tickets. This is the number one spot for last-minute tickets. I like the Gametime app because it's just quick. It's super, super quick. Say I want to go to a Blazer game. To be honest, I'm not going to buy tickets to a Blazer game. I got press seats. But say you want to buy tickets to a Blazer game or someone I love does. Well, I'm going to tell them, check this out. Gametime app. Pull up the phone. Search Trailblazers real quick in the app. Moda Center comes up. You see the prices you want to pay. I want to sit downstairs. Ooh, they got a flash deal. They got flash deals. That's a great deal. So you can sit down in the 200 level for $68. Ooh boy. Well, guess what? That's how much it costs because there has no hidden fees. What you see is what you get pricing, and in a couple clicks, maybe 4 total. You got those tickets emailed to you. You got tickets to the game that you can get like an hour before tip-off. They even have deals after the game has started if you're really a true procrastinator. So download the Gametime app. If you're a true procrastinator, take the guesswork out of buying tickets, especially last-minute tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account. Use the redemption code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You're still listening to Locked On Blazers. This last question of the show comes from listener Aaron, who asks, I'm planning on buying my oldest a custom Duop Reath jersey this weekend. Is that the best idea or the greatest idea? It's a great idea. It's fun. A jersey of a relatively obscure athlete is one of my true pleasures in the world. One time I was at a Blazer game and there was 3 gentlemen at a Pittsburgh Steelers game, and there was 3 gentlemen upstairs in the top of the stadium where I was sitting, and they were all wearing Meweldy Moore jerseys. I'll never forget that trio. Shout out to those Meweldy Moore fans. I gotta guess they were related to Meweldy Moore, but like, an obscure jersey there's a special place in my heart for someone wearing an obscure jersey, and a Duop Reath Blazers jersey is truly a special one. I don't really buy a lot of Blazer gear at this point in my life, but I regret not owning one of those Carmelo Anthony Brown Oregon jerseys. If I could do it again, I would have bought the expensive one. I would have bought like the $150 authentic mellow brown ugly jersey, because it's just like, it's a thing that does, it's a moment in time, and a Duop Reath jersey is probably going to be a moment in time, unless he has one heck of a long career, because let me tell you, Duop Reath has been awesome. I really liked Duop Reath in Summer League. It's like, yeah, this dude can hoop. But I didn't think he would be on the roster. I think I said as much on the show, certainly told some friends and said it in various emails to listeners, because I didn't think the Blazers would offer him a full-time spot. And I knew he's probably had better opportunities than just a straight G League job. I didn't consider him as a two-way player because I'm a doofus. But I've figured it out now. But like, he's on this two-way spots, but the clock is a ticking. Duop Reath has been active for 14 games. If you're on a two-way spot, you only get 50 active games. The Blazers played 22. He didn't play the first 8, but he's going to be active every night because they need him. He's jumped ahead of Moses Brown very clearly in the rotation because he's way freaking better than him. And in fact, the advanced numbers suggest that Duop Reath isn't just good. He's like the most positively impactful Blazer on the roster. To wit, according to cleaningtheglass.com, he has the highest on-off differential of any player on the team. The Blazers are plus 22.1 points better when Duop Reath is on the floor versus per 100 possessions, 22.1, when he's on the floor versus when he sits. They're way better on offense. They're way better on defense. And when he's on the court, and they are worse, a huge drop. 22 points per 100 possessions when he sits. He is the only player, according to NBA.com, with a positive net rating. That's the points, the difference in points allowed per 100 possessions versus points scored per 100 possessions. It's not a great individual statistic. It's a team stat, but I think it is telling that there is only one player on the team with a positive net rating, Duop Reath, at 11.6, plus 11.6, outscoring the opponents by 11.6 points per 100 possessions when Duop Reath is on the court. The next best net rating on the team is Malcolm Brogdon, minus 0.3, minus 0.3. So basically neutral when in Brogdon's minutes, good in legitimately good, outscoring opponents by double digits in Duop Reath's minutes if we normalize it for an entire game, and everyone else gives up buckets, is a negative on the team. His on-off differential for clean the glass, plus 22.1. The next best on the team, Malcolm Brogdon's, plus 11.7. Twice as good as the second best Blazer in terms of on-off differential. Nobody is more positively impactful. Nobody is more positively impactful than Duop Reath. And he plays every night. Played 16 games. Like he's 15 the way cleaning the glass counts because he had a garbage time game. It's like he's just freaking good. I think, WAP's interesting. I think that the solution here is that one of Ish Wainwright or Moses Brown will get waived in January, and they'll convert Duop Reath to a full-time contract because he's part of the plan, right? He's too good to not play. He's an NBA player. What a find by the Blazers front office. He's an NBA player. And like he's been a really good one. But the like fully actualized version of WAP is like exactly what Scoot Henderson needs, exactly what he needs. First of all, Duop Reath sets real screens, real physical screens. He makes contact, hard contact on screens. He's a big body, and he uses it to set real screens. He can roll to the rim. He's a pick and pop player. He shoots a lot. He gets them up. He doesn't get cheated on shots, but he's also can run dribble handoffs and has shown to be a better passer. I think he's dialed back his willingness to shoot every single time he gets the ball. He had 4 assists in the last game, and he had some good plays outside of the assists. Like a big man who could be a hub, who you could throw to in the high post, run dribble handoffs, who could be a threat to shoot so defenses have to come out, who sets real contact on screens and runs the floor hard. You watch him on fast breaks. His rim run, like just straight paint to paint, run to the rim, he's the best on the team at just a straight run to the front of the rim, big man sprint. He's solid. He's just a solid basketball player. And if you have a point guard like Scoot, who's not much of a shooter and teams go under on, what better type of player to play with than a pick and pop big who's going to open up space because he's going to back up and they're going to have to make a decision of do they go help on the shooter or do they help on the drive? A guy who can run handoffs and make plays and has a more passing ability, and a guy who really was going to get you open with a big screen. I'm not sure Duop Reath is like a starting levels. I don't think he's a starting level center in the league, and I don't even think he's better than DeAndre Ayton. I'm not trying to say that. Positively impactful is the sensitive term that I'm using. But like the idea of Reath, a big man who can pass and shoot and is physical, is exactly what Scoot needs to unlock him. So get a WAP jersey, Aaron. Get a WAP jersey. Get your oldest a WAP jersey. Get your youngest a WAP jersey. Get your partner a WAP jersey. Get your granny a WAP jersey. Get your neighbor, your mail carrier, your orthodontist, get them all Duop Reath jerseys, all of them. It's going to cost you I just listed out about $1,000 worth of jerseys because you're going to have to get them custom because they don't sell them in the store. But get them, budget the money, put them on layaway, open up a third credit card account, get in deeply into debt because everyone you know should be repping my man WAP. He's fun. I've enjoyed him. He's going to struggle now. He's going to have a terrible game because I've been singing his praises. But the most positively impactful player on the roster somehow, Duop Reath, baby. That's going to do it for today's show. If you want to get involved in a future Mailbag episode, LockedOnBlazersPod@gmail.com is the place to do it. LockedOnBlazersPod@gmail.com. Got another episode for you tomorrow. You're listening to Wednesday, December 13th episode. On Thursday, we'll look ahead to the Jazz game and play the latest edition of You'd Love to See It, where we talk about things you'd love to see when the Blazers play the Jazz. This is a big game coming up, a chance for them to get a real win. We will talk about that. Friday's show will recap the Jazz game. It's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. Appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.